to errata or not to errata? That's the question that I want to ask today. And this is more of an open like discussion and just kind of want people's thoughts and opinions on this. Are you going to be following all the erratas in the 1.5 rules reference? Now, this isn't the first time they've errata things, but I thought it'd be fun to kind of go through all of them, or at least somewhat quickly. We won't spend too much time on them, but go through them a little bit, talk a little bit about them. And I really, in the end, I just want to know, are you going to be following all this? Like, are you going to just play what the card says, or are you going to do these changes? That's what I'm really curious about. So make sure to put that in the comments, because I'm kind of curious. Or if you're only going to do it for some and not others, let me know. Let me know that in the comments. Let's go check them all out first. All right, so this is the new 1.5 rulebook. This starts on page 54. Everything in red is brand new. The ones in black have been already mentioned, I guess, and already done. And some of them are bigger deals than others, or not bigger deals, but just like more interesting, I guess, is the better way to phrase it. So we'll go through pretty much all these pretty quick. And yeah, I guess kind of give my opinion of what I'll follow and not follow, I think. But yeah, so let's dive into this. So the first one is the Superhuman Law Division. Should read Alter Ego Action, exhaust Superhuman Law Division, spend the science resource, remove 2 threat. They removed the thwart label, which is kind of nice because if you're confused, then it's no longer like a thwarting thing you have to worry about, right? So on Alter Ego, you can actually still do this action even if you're confused. Kind of makes sense, right? Kind of makes sense. I'm not completely against that. I kind of like the idea. I don't know if I'll ever remember that, but I like the idea of it, so that's fine. MODOK adds periods. I'm not playing that way. No, I'm playing with the original mistake. Captain America Hero Pack has already been done. All the ones in black, I'm not going to really cover. They've all been done. One thing I will point out that a lot of people get confused about is the Iron Fist one. They've changed it from a response to an interrupt. And this is kind of important because when Iron Fist attacks an enemy, remove 1 mystic counter from stun the enemy and deal 1 damage to it. And Iron Fist attacks for 2. So people always wonder, does the 2 hit first or does the 1 damage hit first? The 1 damage hits first, right? So you ping the 1 damage off, and then Iron Fist could do the 2 damage. So that if the enemy has tough, right, you're not taking the 2 to the tough, you're taking 1 to the tough and then 2 to the attack, right? So that's actually kind of a big change. That I guess I like. I guess it's fine. I don't know if I'll ever remember it, but is a change worth noting. Some of these are just some of the like they take the word then off of Inner Demons, which I don't know what that does, to be honest, but sure, whatever. Hail Hydra, like some of the cards are fine, some aren't. Like Avengers Tower, like the very first one doesn't have the Avenger trait on it. Like, oh god. Which I guess is important if you're playing with it that one time. Campaign instructions, all these different instructions, that's fine. Okay, so Cosmo was one of the big ones, right? So when Cosmo attacks or thwarts, name a card type, then discard the top card of a player deck or the encounter deck. If that card is the name type, Cosmo does not take consequential damage. This is to stop the whole exploit with Doctor Strange, where you can just do the invocation deck and cycle through it. So they changed the deck to a player deck or encounter deck. I actually do like this change a lot. I think this is a smart change. It makes a lot of sense. So yeah, I'm pretty much fine with this, and I'll probably be playing that way in the future. And it doesn't take a huge leap of logic to get there for me personally. All right, rulebook with 2 main schemes. Should end with the sentence when a minion schemes. That threat is placed in the main scheme with the attachment focus defense attached to it. Okay, that's fine. Oh, I forgot. Another one that's kind of big is crossbones. It says that you should be doing Hydra Patrol, not Hydra Assault. On the actual card, it says Hydra Assault. In the campaign book, it says Hydra Patrol. People always wonder which one you're supposed to do. You're supposed to do Hydra Assault, not Hydra Patrol. Let me rephrase that really quick. It's supposed to be Hydra Assault, not Hydra Patrol. Hydra Patrol is written on the card. Hydra Assault is written in the book, and people are confused on that. Hydra Assault is what it should be. So just FYI on that for people that play Crossbones a fair amount. So they talk about different things. Infinity Gauntlet, after attached villain activates against you, resolve the special ability for each of the Infinity Stones in play. Otherwise, put the top card of the Infinity Stone deck into play. They added against you, which I don't even know if that was like needed. Let me just look it up really fast. Because it just, after attached villain activates, like, I think it's usually understood that they activate against you. So I'm not 100% sure why they would add that, but sure, whatever, that's fine. Cosmo, they made the same change as before. This was a big one too. Choose a War Machine card in your discard pile and shuffle into your deck. It's only supposed to be limit once per phase. This was a big error that like they just let slide for whatever reason. I don't know if they were testing and they never changed it, but that is what it is. Um, so now Valkyrie Hero Pack, Aragorn should read you get +4 hit points and gain the aerial trait. They changed Valkyrie to you. Sure, that's fine. Another big one that, well, it's kind of a big one, is Shield Maiden should have the defense trait and read Hero Interrupt Defense. When the enemy with Death Glow attach attacks, declare Valkyrie the defender without exhausting her. She gets +2 defense for that attack. Added defense. This is important too if you're running kind of builds where you're triggering defensive response cards like Flow Like Water or something like that, where you need a defense card to be considered a defender, right? And the Shield Maiden now allows that. So like it opens up her defense protection ability like a little, like not like a ton, but like a little. So it is nice. It should have been there the whole time. It wasn't added for whatever reason, but that is good there to have. And again, there's other defense cards that people play with like what is like jump flip or whatever that trigger if you're defending. Well, if you play a defense card, you're considered defending. That's why this is important. Beguile should have the condition trait and read when revealed. Attached to the ally with the highest cost without Beguile attached. Attached ally engages its controller. Otherwise, this card gains Surge. Does it say what it changed on it? Oh, it should have the condition trait. So they just put the condition on it, which makes sense. That's fine. A lot of this stuff, as you can tell, is just like small little things that might make a difference later on, but whatever. The Vision Hero Pack has Machine Man. It should read Interrupt when Machine Man attacks you or thwarts, or Machine Man attacks or thwarts. Spend up to 3 resources of any type. Machine Man gets +1/+1 for each resource spent this way. Added for this use. Yeah, I mean that's fine. I get it that people could have exploited this and like made it like super strong and readied it up or whatever. Not even readied up, but like technically like it wouldn't go away. I think we all understood what it should have meant and what it should have said, so it's not, again, not that big of a change. Let's see. The rulebook stuff, the glider counter, paragraph 4, the sentence just said, when a main scheme is completed, flip to the environment slide. This is fine. This is like just like a lot of stuff is just small little rulebook stuff, which I don't consider like really affecting the game that much. During the resolve mulligan step of the game setup, each player may take one additional mulligan. Change step 13 to the resolve mulligan step to align with updated setup process. Makes sense, right? Manipulate Mind should read when revealed. Attached to the ally you control with the lowest cost, attached ally engages its controller. Otherwise, this card gains Surge. So they added attached ally engages its controller, right? This you could kind of push this off in different directions and like make it do different things. Like again, I think people understood what it was trying to do, so it's not that big of a deal. Miss Marvel should read, after you play an event, exhaust Miss Marvel and deal 1 damage to her, return that event to your hand from your discard pile. Now, the reason that this one is kind of important, and I need to bring it up really fast, is well, let me show you. So it originally said, here we go. After you play, oh, my head's in the way. After you play an event, exhaust Miss Marvel and deal 1 damage to it, return that event to your hand. The reason this is important is because there are cards like Go for Champions, which we'll talk about just in a second, that they've removed from the game. But this card, for example, after you play an event and exhaust Miss Marvel, deal 1 damage to it, return that event to your hand. Like, you could just recall any event, right? That's what it says. Like after you play the event, you just take it back. So even cards that would get removed from the game, it doesn't matter. You can just take them back. So that's what I had to add that. So it makes more sense that they did that because any card that gets removed from the game, she could bring back in. So Go for Champions, hero action move, go from champions from the game, and then each champion character in play cannot take damage until the end of the round. So they did the beginning part, right? The remove from the game, and then follows everything after the arrow. This is a weird one to me that I don't know if I'm really gonna follow or not, to be completely honest. Like I get that it can be exploited and super powerful, but it's still like not a cheap card, right? So let's just really quick go for champions, bring this up so you can see it. Okay, so hero action, play only if you're identity as champion trait. It's a 3-cost card. Each champion cannot each champion character in play cannot take damage until the end of the round, which is obviously very, very strong. But like, it was already limited to just champion traits, right? It was already limited to max 1 per deck, and it is 3 costs. Like, maybe it's 4 and whatever. Um, I get like as this reviewer says, like if you build around it, yeah, it can break the game, but I don't know if that's a big deal or not, right? To be completely honest, like I mean, if you want to get to the point where like you just want to make the game as easy as possible to win all the time and just do the same exact build over and over, then uh, like okay, like I don't really care, you know what I mean? Like that, I think that's fine. I don't think that's an issue. I think people themselves would play the game where like okay, I use this card, but I'm not building around this card. Right? Like I don't know. I guess it depends on which camp you fall in. Is the most important thing in Marvel Champions to win, or is the most important thing in Marvel Champions to have fun? And maybe those two things overlap. Maybe they don't, you know? And it depends on what your definition of fun is in the game. So there's a lot to it. But for me, like, I don't know if I'm going to play that rule. I really don't. Like, I don't know. I think the Miss Marvel errata makes sense, right? With changing it that, you know, if it was supposed to like leave play, that, you know, it can't essentially, like, you can't save a card from leaving play. Like, I'm okay with that change. I think that makes sense overall. And I think with that change, the exploit of really using this card over and over and over kind of like isn't as great. Now, we don't have that many champions heroes out there yet, so I don't know if they're trying to like prepare us for the future when, you know, you have a 4-player game and like all the champions are invincible like constantly. Like maybe that's what they're trying to solve. I don't know, but I don't know if I'm gonna play that. I'll be completely honest. That's like one of the ones I'm kind of iffy about if I'm really gonna ever play that. Mutant Genesis expansion Steel Fist should read deal 5 damage to an enemy. You may discard a tough status card from your hero to stun and confuse that enemy. So this was kind of a big one because it originally had this arrow, and this caused a lot of issues because the way that this was originally worded was, and this did like the whole deal and take thing and caused so many problems, was that it said deal 5 damage to an enemy. You may discard a tough status from your hero, arrow, stun and confuse the enemy. So the reason that this is a problem is because originally the way the rules were written, everything before the arrow had to be paid, right? Had to be paid. And then after the arrow, you could do as much as humanly possible, right? Like it didn't matter as much. Now they've changed that to after the arrow must be done completely. So like again, it would have to like, you would have to stun and confuse the enemy. Like if they already have one confused status, you couldn't play this card anymore. It was a big thing. So they invented the rules, deal and take, where deal, you don't, I might mess this up, but I think I'm right. You have to take all the damage, but you don't have to deal all the damage, was their rule, I believe. Maybe it's the other way around. I have to double check that. So it might be in the notes down below in the description if I'm off. But basically that was the way they worked around it. It was really really silly because again people were like, well, if it can only take 4 damage, like can I still do this card? Like can I not do this card? Whatever, you know, with a villain and they only have 4 life left, could I still play this card? Because technically you have to deal 5 damage. It was a whole big mess. So now they've changed it that there is no cost arrow. It's just the word 2. So you may discard this status card from your hero to stun and confuse that enemy. Okay. Yeah, I get what they're trying to do. I guess it's fine the way it is. I prefer this wording to the whole deal and take thing. I think deal and take is still like kind of confusing. We'll look up deal and take at the very end of this video to see what it is because I think it's in the rule book now. Actually, I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to double check that. Okay, so armor up should read alter ego interrupt. When the villain would activate, change to hero form. This confused a lot of people, this card, because it says when the villain activates, change the hero form. And a lot of people didn't understand the wording on this because they said, okay, so the hero activates and like schemes, and then I go to hero form, right? It was like kind of a confusing wording. What you really need to pay attention to is the interrupt, right? The interrupt would happen before the villain activates, or like right before the villain activates. So it's technically fine, but they added the word just would activate just to like help clarify, which is, I think is fine, which is fine. So Logan should read set up, put Wolverine's claws in play. Again, with their new permanent ruling, this isn't needed. I'm happy that they did this. I think it's fine, but it's not even something that you need at this point because of the way permanent rulings work now. Berserker Barrage should read hero action, deal 4 damage to an enemy. If this attack defeats an enemy, you may take 2 damage to repeat this ability. This one is actually kind of interesting. Did I spell Berserker right? No, I can't spell Berserker right. Oh, Berserker Barrage. Let me just copy and paste it. Probably be easier, right? All right, so the reason being is because deal 4 damage to enemy. Again, the whole deal and take thing before the the arrow confuse people. Like, do we actually have to deal 4 damage to enemy if it's a minion with only 3 life, right? Does it count, right? Like, does it count? Does it not count? Like, it was just weird on it, which I still don't think is actually that big of a deal, because you could just say like a part of this sentence of the arrow like is what matters. Like, you do this first line, second line is completely different. Like, I don't think that's that crazy, but whatever. So if this attack defeats an enemy, you may take 2 damage. Repeat this ability. And again, this shows a perfect example of deal and take and their whole ruling of it. So you had to take 2, but you could deal up to 4. It's fine. So that was that. So Rogue Hero Pack, Bonebreaker should read Force Response. So the Force Interrupt change the Force Response after Bonebreaker engages you. Force 1 indirect damage for each Reaver minion engaged with you. Which, like, I guess makes sense. Like, I don't know. I don't know if that truly makes a huge difference. Like, it does for clarity purpose, I guess. But it's not like a big change, so that's not something you have to really worry about. The search for Spiral hero action, take 2 damage, remove 3 threat from here. Did that not have a cost error originally? Take 2 damage, remove 3 threat from here. Yeah, I mean, I get why you do the arrow, because you're saying you have to do everything there. Though that also means, based on how the arrow works now, if you can't remove 3 threat from here, like if there's only 2 left, you wouldn't be able to do the hero action. So it does mean that now, which I think is fine. Well, I don't think that's terrible. I guess I think it's kind of weird, but I think that's fine. So yeah, I get what they're doing with the arrow thing, trying to make it more clear, but I think most people got the general gist of what that meant. And then Fetch Quest, when defeated in player order, each player may search their deck and discard pile for that card, ignoring its resource cost, replaced for free with ignoring its resource cost. I think that's fine. Again, that's a clarity thing, which I think is good. And like you can tell, most of these things are clarity things. I don't think there's anything too crazy that happened. I guess the one thing to note that happened in the past, which we should probably mention, is Lightning Strike. Change the word attack to damage. This is important because if you're stunned, right, you can't attack, but you can deal damage. It's a weird distinction, but it is an important one. So let me just bring up Lightning Strike really fast. I don't know if they'll have the new one on here or not that we can look at really fast. Yeah, so it's just a hero action. So you would deal X damage to the villain and each minion engaged with you. This attack ignores tough stats if you have the aerial trait. Again, if you are stunned, you can do this because it's not an attack. Deal X damage. This damage. Oh, that's what they're changing. This attack. They're getting the word attack out of there. It's like not confuse you that if you're stunned, you wouldn't be able to do it, because technically attacks you can't like do if you're stunned. Like, so again, it's clarity things, right? Loki, again, which was kind of a joke, was that it was a forced interrupt, or it wasn't a forced interrupt. It was just an interrupt, which was kind of funny. But yeah, I think that's mainly all the big ones. If I'm missing another big one, let me know. I guess warning. I don't know how many people play warning, but I guess that could be impactful of some sort. But yeah, so for the vast majority of these, like, to me, again, most of them kind of made sense, right? The Cosmo one, I like that change. I think it's a good change. The Rhodes one, James Rhodes, I've always played that way. It made the most sense to me. I like the Shield Maiden change. I think that makes sense. I think that's how it should have been. Steel Fist and Armored Up are fine, right? Miss Marvel's fine. I think Go for Champions is the only one I don't like, that I don't know if I'll actually play that way. I don't know. In Superhuman Law Division, I like the change, but I don't know if I'll remember it, to be completely honest. I think that's one of those things like I'll have a hard time remembering. But everything else, like, I guess I'm fine with. Like, it's nothing too crazy. Really quick though. Do they have deal versus take? Oh my gosh, there's a lot of stuff with that. So do they have deal and a deal in the counter card? I don't know if they actually have it. Deal damage. The deal damage simultaneously deals damage on the overkill, deal damage. I don't even know if they make that distinction in the new rules. Or maybe I just can't find it. So that would be interesting if deal and take are not actually in here. And that might be what they're trying to clean up a little bit because I didn't even see the word take, which should be, yeah, there's none there, right? TARTAB. So I feel like take should be here if they were going to do something with it, and it's not, which is very interesting that makes sense of why they're doing all these changes. Um, where is it? With Iron Fist and whatever, so they don't have to deal with deal and take and stuff like that. That's my guess is they're trying to work their way around it. That deal and take was kind of like a band-aid for a little while. So maybe that's not a ruling now. I don't know. That's interesting. I'll have to think about that and come back to that in a future video. Maybe. We'll see. So anyway, like I said, let me know what errata you like, don't like. Are you gonna play all them? Are you not gonna play all them? Are you gonna play some of them? Or are you just whatever about all this? And like I said, a lot of these are just clarification stuff. It's nothing huge. There's a few small things, like I said, but some of them do change a little bit of the game. So anyway, let me know your thoughts down below. If you made it to the end of the video, do me a huge favor, hit the like button, hit subscribe, all that fun stuff. It really helps. I'll see you all next time.